In a small village called Nsanka, there lived a girl named Amara. She was known for her kindness and cheerful nature. Her parents, Papa Emeka and Mama Ada, were proud of her, and she had a younger brother, Chaik, who looked up to her. Life in Nsanka was simple and peaceful, with villagers living in harmony and supporting one another. One day, Amara's friend, Kolechi, invited her to a big feast in the nearby village of Okoro. Kolechi's family was wealthy, and they were celebrating a bountiful harvest. Amara was excited about the feast, but she knew her parents would not allow her to go to another village without their permission. Nsanka was a place where everyone respected their parents' wishes, and Amara did not want to disappoint them. But the temptation was too strong. Amara desperately wanted to attend the feast and see the grand celebration. The thought of missing out made her feel left out. So, she came up with a plan. Amara told her parents that she was going to visit her grandmother, who lived in the neighboring village of Umwaga. She promised to be back before sunset and assured them she would be safe. Mama Ada packed some food for her, and Papa Emeka gave her some money for the journey. They both hugged her and watched as she walked down the dusty path leading out of the village. As soon as she was out of sight, Amara quickly changed direction and headed toward Okoro. Her heart was pounding with excitement, and she couldn't wait to see the feast. When she arrived at Kolechi's house, she was amazed by the decorations and the smell of delicious food in the air. The villagers of Okoro welcomed her with open arms, and Kolechi was thrilled to see her. The feast was everything Amara had imagined and more. There was music, dancing, and endless plates of food. She laughed and played with the other children, forgetting about the time. As the sun began to set, she realized she had stayed much longer than she had planned. Panicking, Amara said her goodbyes and rushed out of the village. The path back to Nsanka was dark, and she had never traveled it at night. The trees cast long shadows, and strange noises filled the air. Amara tried to stay calm, but fear crept into her heart. As she hurried along the path, she tripped on a root and fell, scraping her knee. The pain shot through her leg, but she got up and kept going. Her clothes were torn, and her hair was tangled, but she didn't stop. The village of Nsanka was still far away, and the night was getting darker. When Amara finally reached her village, she was exhausted and terrified. She ran to her house, hoping her parents hadn't noticed her absence. But when she opened the door, she found them sitting by the fire, their faces filled with worry. "Amara, where have you been?" Mama Ada asked, her voice trembling. Amara froze. She knew she had to tell the truth, but the words wouldn't come out. She had lied to her parents, and now she was caught. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she fell to her knees. "I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry, Papa," she cried. "I went to the feast in Okoro with Kolechi. I didn't mean to lie, but I wanted to go so badly. I thought I could come back before you noticed, but I got lost and scared." Papa Emeka's face was stern, and Mama Ada shook her head in disappointment. "Amara, you know how important it is to be honest with your family," Papa Emeka said. "You put yourself in danger and made us worry. What if something had happened to you?" Amara sobbed, feeling the weight of her actions. She had never seen her parents so upset, and it broke her heart. "I promise I'll never lie again. Please forgive me," she pleaded. Mama Ada knelt beside her and wiped away her tears. "We love you, Amara, but trust is something that takes time to rebuild. You must understand that actions have consequences." Amara nodded, feeling the guilt heavy in her chest. She knew she had betrayed her family's trust, and she would have to work hard to earn it back. The next morning, Amara woke up early and went about her chores. She was determined to prove to her parents that she had learned her lesson. But as the days passed, she noticed that things were not the same. Her parents were kind to her, but there was a distance between them. Chike, who used to follow her everywhere, now kept his distance. Amara felt lonely and isolated. She missed the closeness she had with her family, but she didn't know how to fix it. She tried to be extra helpful and obedient, but the coldness in her home persisted. One evening, while she was fetching water from the river, she heard whispers among the villagers. They were talking about a strange illness that had started spreading in the village. People were falling sick with a high fever, and no one knew the cause. Amara's heart sank. She had heard stories about how dishonesty and deceit could bring bad luck to a village. Was this illness a punishment for her lie? She couldn't shake the feeling that she was responsible for the misfortune that had befallen Sanka. As the days went by, the illness spread rapidly. The village healer, Neka, was doing everything she could to cure the sick, but nothing seemed to work. The villagers grew anxious and began to whisper that the gods were angry. Amara's guilt grew stronger. She couldn't stand the thought that her actions had brought suffering to her people. She knew she had to do something to make things right, but she didn't know where to start. One night, Amara had a dream. In the dream, she was standing in the middle of a dark forest, surrounded by tall trees. A voice echoed through the trees, calling her name. "Amara, you must seek the truth," the voice said. "Only then will you find the cure for the illness that plagues your village." Amara woke up with a start, her heart pounding. The dream had felt so real, and the voice had been so clear. She knew she had to follow its guidance, but she didn't know what it meant to seek the truth. The next morning, she went to see Neka, the village healer. She told her about the dream and asked if it could be a message from the gods. Neka listened carefully and nodded. "The gods speak to us in many ways, Amara. If they are asking you to seek the truth, then you must do so. But the truth is not always easy to find. You must be prepared to face whatever you discover." Amara felt a shiver run down her spine. She had no idea what truth she was supposed to seek, but she knew she had to try. She thanked Neka and left the healer's hut, her mind racing with thoughts. As she walked through the village, she saw the worried faces of the villagers. Some of them were sick, lying on mats outside their huts, while others were taking care of their loved ones. The air was thick with fear and uncertainty. Amara knew she couldn't ignore the dream. She had to do something, even if it meant uncovering painful truths. She decided to start by visiting the places she had been when she lied to her parents. Maybe there was something she had missed or something that would lead her to the answer. With a determined heart, Amara set out on her journey. She had no idea what she would find, but she was ready to face whatever came her way. The future of her village depended on it. Amara's journey began at the edge of the village, where the path to Okoro split from the path to Umwaga. As she stood at the crossroads, she felt a chill run down her spine. The last time she was here, she had made a choice that led her to this very moment. She took a deep breath and followed the path to Okoro, hoping it would guide her to the truth. The path was quiet, with only the sound of her footsteps echoing in the stillness. Amara's heart pounded in her chest as she replayed the events of that day in her mind. What had she missed? Was there something more to the feast, something that had triggered the illness in her village? As she approached Okoro, she noticed that the village seemed different. The lively atmosphere she remembered was gone, replaced by an eerie silence. The houses were closed up, and there were no villagers in sight. Amara felt a sense of dread wash over her as she stepped into the village square. She spotted Kelechi's house and hurried toward it. She hoped her friend could shed some light on what had happened during the feast. When she knocked on the door, there was no answer. She knocked again, louder this time, and after a long pause, the door creaked open. Kelechi's mother, Mama Nidi, stood in the doorway. Her face was pale, and her eyes were sunken. "Amara, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice weak. "I came to see Kelechi," Amara replied, trying to keep the fear out of her voice. "Is she here?" Mama Needy shook her head. "Kelechi is sick, Amara. She's been sick ever since the feast. Many in the village are. We don't know what caused it, but the healer says it's a curse." Amara's heart sank. A curse? The word sent a jolt of terror through her. Could her lie have caused this? "Can I see her?" she asked, her voice trembling. Mama Needy hesitated, but then she stepped aside to let Amara in. The house was dark, and the air was thick with the scent of herbs and medicine. Amara followed Mama Needy to Kelechi's room, where she found her friend lying on a mat, her body covered in sweat. "Kelechi," Amara whispered, kneeling beside her. Kelechi's eyes fluttered open, and she managed a weak smile. "Amara, you came," Kelechi murmured, her voice barely audible. Amara took her hand, feeling the heat radiating from her skin. "What happened, Kelechi? Do you remember anything from the feast?" Kelechi's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know, Amara. Everything was fine until that night. I felt strange when I got home, and then the fever started. Everyone who was at the feast got sick, even the elders. Some say it's because of something that was done at the feast, but I don't remember anything unusual." Amara's mind raced. What could have caused this? She needed to find out, but she didn't know where to start. "I promise I'll find a way to help you, Kelechi," she said, squeezing her friend's hand. Kelechi nodded weakly, her eyes closing again. "Be careful, Amara. There are things in this world we don't understand." Amara left Kelechi's house with a heavy heart. She had hoped to find answers, but instead, she had found more questions. The thought of a curse terrified her, but she knew she couldn't turn back now. She had to keep searching. As she walked through the empty village, she noticed something strange. There were symbols drawn on the ground, symbols she had never seen before. They were etched into the dirt, forming a circle around the village square. Amara felt a shiver run down her spine as she stared at them. Could these symbols be connected to the illness? She decided to visit the elder of Okoro, Chief Obi, who was known for his wisdom. If anyone could help her understand the symbols, it would be him. She made her way to his hut, her heart pounding with anticipation. When she arrived, she found Chief Obi sitting outside, staring into the distance. He looked up as she approached, his eyes filled with sadness. "Amara, I knew you would come," he said, his voice heavy with sorrow. Amara was taken aback. "You knew I was coming?" Chief Obi nodded. "The gods have spoken to me. They said a child from Sanka would come seeking the truth. You are that child." Amara's heart skipped a beat. The gods had spoken to Chief Obi. This was bigger than she had imagined. "Chief Obi, I need your help. There are symbols drawn in the village square, and I think they might be connected to the illness. Do you know what they mean?" Chief Obi sighed deeply. "Those symbols are ancient, passed down from a time long forgotten. They are symbols of protection, but when used improperly, they can bring great harm. I fear that someone at the feast may have invoked these symbols without understanding their power." Amara felt a knot form in her stomach. What can we do to stop it? How can we break the curse? Chief Obi shook his head. Breaking a curse is not easy, Amara. It requires great sacrifice and the intervention of the gods. But there is a way. You must find the one who invoked the symbols and bring them to the shrine in the sacred forest. Only there can the curse be undone. Amara's heart raced. She had to find the person responsible, but how would she know who it was? How will I find them, Chief Obi? What if they don't want to be found? Chief Obi looked at her with a solemn expression. The truth is not always easy to uncover, Amara. But you must follow your heart and trust in the guidance of the gods. They will lead you to the one you seek. Amara nodded, determination filling her heart. She thanked Chief Obi and set off on her new quest. She didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but she knew she had to find the truth, no matter the cost. The fate of her village and the lives of those she loved depended on it. As Amara made her way back to Nsanka, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. The shadows seemed to move as she walked, and every rustle of the leaves made her jump. She tried to stay calm, but the sense of unease grew stronger with each step. When she reached the outskirts of her village, she was met by a familiar figure. It was Neka, the village healer, standing in the middle of the path. Her face was stern, and her eyes were filled with an intensity that made Amara stop in her tracks. Neka, what are you doing here? Amara asked, her voice trembling. Neka stepped closer, her gaze piercing. I know what you are trying to do, Amara. But there are things you don't understand. There are forces at work that are beyond your control. Amara's heart pounded in her chest. I have to find the truth, Neka. I have to save my village. Neka shook her head. Sometimes the truth is more dangerous than a lie, Amara. Be careful where you tread, for the path you are on is fraught with peril. Amara swallowed hard, but she didn't back down. I can turn back now, Neka. I have to see this through. Neka sighed, her expression softening. I see you are determined. But remember this, Amara, not everything is as it seems. Be careful who you trust, for even those with the best intentions can lead you astray. With that, Neka turned and walked away, leaving Amara standing alone on the path. The words echoed in her mind as she continued toward the village. She knew she was in for a difficult journey, but she couldn't let fear stop her. She had to uncover the truth, no matter what it took. As she reached her home, she saw her parents waiting for her. Their faces were filled with concern, but there was also a glimmer of hope in their eyes. Amara knew she had to tell them everything, but she was afraid of what they might say. Amara, where have you been? Mama Ada asked, her voice trembling with worry. Amara took a deep breath and began to explain everything, the feast, the illness, the symbols, and Chief Obi's words. As she spoke, her parents listened in silence, their expressions growing more serious. When she finished, Papa Emeka placed a hand on her shoulder. Amara, you have taken on a great burden. But we believe in you. We know you will do whatever it takes to save our village. Tears welled up in Amara's eyes. I just want to make things right. I don't want anyone else to suffer because of me. Mama Ada hugged her tightly. We are with you, Amara. Whatever happens, you are not alone. Amara felt a warmth in her heart. She had her family's support, and that gave her the strength she needed to continue. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but with their love and faith, she believed she could overcome any obstacle. That night, as Amara lay in bed, she thought about Neka's words. Who could she trust? Was there someone in the village who knew more than they were letting on? She had to be careful, but she also had to be brave. The next morning, she set out.